Hey guys, Hashfront here. I wanted to make a very basic beginner's guide by me, a beginner. I wanted to make this guide because when I saw some other guides and I had some questions myself, and other guides and stuff are great, but I feel like I have a different perspective, also being kind of a new player with some MMO experience, but very new to like the Mythic Plus or like dungeon maxing scene. So this video is meant for people who are new to this kind of game or genre in general. If you're watching this, do you have any other tips that could help out new players, or if you hear me say something that is incorrect, please feel free to comment down below so we can all benefit from that. These are the players that are heroes that you have an option of playing as, and they're already categorized as tank, damage, otherwise known as DPS, or healers. I would flick through. I would definitely be mindful of the difficulty that it says that they are, but I wouldn't let it scare you. If I would just find someone that you want to play, and even if they are a higher difficulty, as long as you enjoy playing them, you'll put in enough time that you will eventually learn how they play. So, what is Fellowship? What is the point of the game? The point of the game, the main goal in Fellowship, is to get as powerful as possible and see how far you can progress through content. The higher you climb in the ranked categories, there's different modifiers and different mechanics, and you'll get better gear the higher you go. It isn't a typical power fantasy like your ARPGs like Diablo, Last Epoch, Path of Exile. In this game, when you progress content and you're getting better gear, you may feel more powerful, but the content also scales. So don't think it's going to be like Diablo where you're going to have this crazy build and you're going to cruise through everything. That's not quite how it works. Tab targeting is very simple. When you see an enemy, you can click them to target them. They'll show up here, kind of in the bottom right. But something else you can do is you can just hit tab to target the nearest enemy to you. Now, if you want to switch to a different character, you can just hit tab again, or a different enemy, I should say, and you can just hit tab, and it'll cycle through all of the enemies that are in front of you. So tab targeting is very useful, especially like if you're, I use it a lot as a tank. If I need to hold aggro on someone else, then I can quickly tab target. Kicking refers to an interruption. As Helena, I have this bash ability that interrupts the target's spellcasting. As you can see in this clip, this enemy has a yellow bar that's filling up, and then someone interrupts it, canceling that cast. So there's lots of spells and specific enemies that have really powerful casts that you want to interrupt, or what they call kicking. Now, a really cool feature of this game is when you can target an enemy, and then you can hit, by default it is V on your keyboard, and I can target a different enemy and be attacking them, but when I see my target casting, I can hit F by default, and it will just auto cast this ability. Now, I had an issue where in my settings, my key was not bound to trigger the interrupt target. So make sure that it's bound. You can rebind these to whatever you want, but this is extremely useful, especially, again, as a tank. What I use it a lot. I'm switching targets to make sure I hold aggro on everything, but if there's one enemy that I for sure don't want to have a cast go off, I can still be focused on other people and kick that cast. Another benefit of targeting with your V that is very good, and a habit that you should get into, is my entire party can see that they can all see that I have this person as a target. When my ability is on cooldown, they can see that it's on cooldown. So I just used it. They can see when it comes up again. So 2 people could target this, and that way you can kind of chain between them to make sure that someone's always interrupting. And that's a great habit to get into. Soaking is when there is an ability or an enemy attack that triggers an area on the ground that 1 or more party members want to stand in. The soaking targets are shown with these arrows, letting you know, hey, stand here. As you can see in this clip, there's 2 different soaking areas that we split into evenly, 2 and 2. The opposite of soaking is standing in garbage, or just standing where you shouldn't be. Anything that doesn't have these arrows on it, that isn't cast by a party member, you want to avoid. Pretty much anything that's on the ground that is, again, not by a party member, doesn't have the arrows. Your healer will be extremely stressed if you just stand in these areas you're not supposed to, because most likely you will either take a large amount of damage, or you're going to take constant damage, or like a dot, damage over time, which brings us to dots, exactly what it stands for, damage over time. This ability I have, Sweeping Strike, deals physical damage every 1.38 seconds for 12 seconds. So that damage is going to continue over time. And then there's also Hots. Hots are healing over time, which is the opposite. Normally this is cast by a party member, where they might have a heal on you that heals you a small amount over a period of time. Let's talk about gear. So when you're doing your quick plays, you will unlock supplies. Now you can come over here to these vendors. There's 3 vendors here. And if you come to Quartermaster Novak to purchase equipment, you will see that you can purchase these starter items, these white items. Now, you won't be able to purchase these green items until you time the capstone dungeon of the Contender League, which I'll talk about in a minute. You will start off, when you first load in, you will have a couple level 1 items. These items you get, as you can see underneath, are level 15. You want to use your supplies to fill out all of your items with this starter gear. Now, you don't have to have it all the way filled out to start Contender League. It definitely helps, but it's not necessary. I would encourage you to at least have most of it filled out, but again, not necessary. Now, when you do finally unlock these green pieces, you've timed the capstone dungeon of the Contender League. When you buy these, I was expecting it to be a green item, because it says, it's all green, it's uncommon. You don't get green items, you just get a higher level white items. Now, the white items you can't upgrade. Every other item you can upgrade, just not great white items. Now, when we were talking about the unlocking the green items, I said you had to time the capstone dungeon in the Contender League. If you come to the very end of the Contender difficulty 7, there's Sithral's Fall. So this is the capstone dungeon. Timing it is beating it within a certain time limit. You want to complete it within the time or have time left over. Once you do that, then you will unlock the next difficulty. And once you time it, that's when you unlock those green items. In the reward section, there's also things you unlock for, right here, time Sithral's Fall in Contender League to unlock this account wide. You get this mount. Scrapping and upgrading gear is the last thing we will cover. So as you're doing your Contender League ranked matches, you're going to start to unlock gear. Now, if you equip a piece of gear into a new slot and you have an old piece of gear that you're not going to use, you can stash items to possibly give to another character. You can scrap them to get gold. Gold is the primary resource you're going to be using to upgrade your items at the lower levels. Now, when it comes to gems and weapon enchantments at all these other stations, that comes much later. That doesn't come till Adept difficulty is when gems start coming into play. And I don't know about everything else. I'm not at that level yet. I'm sure as you level up and start going into higher leagues and start getting better gear, that you're going to get more experience and understand how those things work. That is going to conclude this guide, again, mainly focused towards these very beginner players who haven't even entered this genre of game before. If you are someone who knows more about the game, please comment down below if there's anything I said that was incorrect. I don't want to spread misinformation. Make sure people check the comments. If people leave additional tips that I didn't cover. If you have any more questions about things that I didn't cover, if you're starting the game, feel free to leave it in the comments, and I can try to get to that in a later video. And I wish you the best in your ranked climb. I'll see you in the next one.